when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. Yes, viewers, we're just at about 7 a.m. and we take this opportunity as we continue to give God thanks for life. I am Julian Skeet, and yes, I'm here solo this morning, but we're certainly looking forward to a great, what is it? What day of the week is it? Is it Monday? Is it Tuesday? It's Tuesday. The cues just came in. Tuesday, the 27th of June, 2023. We continue to say thank you and to express our appreciation. Those of you connecting with us right here in Tobago, those of you in Trinidad, the region, and the world at large, thank you so much for continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show. Yes, we get started after a very interesting day yesterday, Tobago's budget presentation. But I'm certain we'd hear a lot more about that in this morning's news as we head on over to news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Julian. I am Bianna Brebner, and here is your news in 90 seconds for Tuesday, 27 June 2023, brought to you by Coconuts Cafe. Chief Secretary and Secretary for Finance, Trade and the Economy, Farley Augustine, presented a $4.5 billion budget in the House yesterday. When disaggregated, the total accounts for $3.39 billion in recurrent expenditure, $1.15 billion for development funding, $97 million for URP, and $44.77 million for CPIP. Augustine explained that the total equals 6.9% of the national budget, with an estimation of $65.78 billion. Among the highlights were a $20 million climate resilience insurance policy, waivers for investment at Cove Eco-Industrial Park, digitized governance system, and the establishment of a Tobago Development Bank. Basing the THA budget on the 6.9% of the national budget is unrealistic, according to Minority Leader Kelvon Morris. Responding to Augustine's budget presentation, Morris said that the present administration showed they cannot be trusted with public funds. He claimed that every week there is some new allegations of corruption or misuse of public funds, while they continue to break the promises made to the people of Tobago. Additionally, Morris stated that there is a lack of public trust and confidence in the Chief Secretary. Debate on the budget is scheduled for Thursday. While the Chief Secretary delivered his budget presentation in the House, several people gathered in James Park for a protest. Dressed in white, the group consisted of PNM members. Among them were former assemblymen and persons whose contract were not renewed in 2022. They demanded that Augustine and the entire Executive Council step down and call early elections. Meanwhile, Ansel Dennis, the political leader of the Tobago Council of the PNM, stated that he found it difficult to listen to the budget presentation because of recent allegations of mishandling of public funds. And that there was your news in 90 seconds, brought to you by Coconuts Cafe.
Coconuts Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes for breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, bull joil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
Yes, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show. Bianna, what's been happening? A
lot's been happening, Julian, a lot. Over the weekend, we had the pre-qualifiers, so they captured the flag, plus we had the budget debates, plus the protests. So a lot's been happening.
And I say naturally, as proud past students of Scarborough Secondary, we are certainly looking forward to capture the flag as it continues to be a trailblazer kind of activity.
That's so true.
Many in studio may hold a different view because they've not had the privilege of being a part of Scarborough Secondary, but that's all right. We welcome all.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much there, Biana. And folks, yes, so many things happening, on a national context, and more specifically in the context of Tobago, and therefore the THA budget being one of those focal points at this time. And a little later on, I'll give you an idea of who we'll be chatting with this morning as we speak about the THA budget and looking at the breakdown. But just before we head on in there this morning, I want to take the opportunity to highlight one of my colleagues. We've got no birthdays this morning, no birthday shout-outs this morning. And just to remind you, feel free to submit your birthday shout-out to Tobago updates. And I'm hoping it's just that we didn't miss any, but we don't have any so far on the records this morning. But we do have a major funeral taking place once again here in Tobago. So we certainly want to extend condolences to the family of Winston Gordon, from where I sit as a member of the Rotary International family. Certainly served with distinction. One would say perhaps for just over 30 plus years of service, and if I'm not mistaken, it could have been ranging closer to 40 years of service in the Rotary family. Certainly a man that has led with distinction and made his contribution known to us as Honorary Rotarian Winston Gordon. But then again, even if you did not know him in the Rotary circle, you certainly knew him, whether it be in PAN, you knew him in the cultural realm, you knew him through the banking sector, you knew him with first line securities. I mean, this gentleman has done so much in his time and really has made a significant contribution here on the island of Tobago. And this is just a reminder to all that the funeral service takes place today. It takes place today, Tuesday, the 27th of June, 2023, at the St. Patrick's Anglican Church, Mount Pleasant, and that's from 11 a.m. And there will be a street procession from the Mount Pleasant Recreation Grounds, and that's by the Redemption Songsetters Orchestra, to the St. Patrick's Anglican Church at 10 a.m. So the street procession starts at 10 a.m. and then the service kicks off at 11 a.m. as we celebrate the life of Winston Gordon, certainly making his contribution here, his significant contribution to the development of Tobago. All right, viewers, at this point, I mentioned a bit earlier, we are chatting with you just after the budget presentation, which took place yesterday by Chief Secretary and Secretary with Responsibility for Finance, the Honorable Fali Chavez Agustin. And this morning, we get the discussion started on the THA budget 2023-2024 fiscal package. And we will start the conversation with Dr. Denise Sawyer Angus, a former presiding officer of the Tobago House of Assembly. We continue this morning's discussion as we speak to Once on This Island, the musical. Yes, folks, we'll be chatting with TPAC. We'll be speaking with Rayshon Pierre, artistic director, and OJ Richards, orchestra coordinator, as we speak Once on This Island, the musical. And just before we wrap this morning, we're heading into that July-August time, that time where we take this rest period. More importantly, not all of us, but more specifically, our children and our young people, those who are a part of the school system. And therefore, we will be speaking to Kids Can Sew Camp. That's an upcoming camp, and we'll be chatting with LaToya Anderson, director and seamstress of Toya's Design Plus. So we look forward to those upcoming discussions this morning. And at this point, viewers, we head on over to Tobago in Focus.
Good health starts with good nutrition. The Division of Education, Research and Technology understands this, knowing that the future of Tobago lies with the nutrition of our children. The school nutrition policy is being developed for this purpose.
We must understand that the child is a whole being. What the child consumes matters. We do have a lot of wastage with particular meals as well, so we want to bring everything in a streamlined and organized manner so that we are most cost effective in our school nutrition program.
The policy, which is being examined and developed by a multi-departmental team from the division, as well as food and nutrition stakeholders, will seek to reduce waste, provide cost-effective measures, as well as establishing quality standards for meals and the stakeholders who create them.
We also want to be reviewing the cost, the pricing, criteria for children to access the meals, because that has sort of gotten out of control a little bit over the years, moved away from the original objectives. And also the criteria for selecting and for maintaining your services as a caterer, because you have to maintain a standard.
The committee has been given a 4-month deadline for the full rollout of this policy. Technical advisor at the Division of Education, Research and Technology, Natasha Second, said work is well underway and encouraged principals, teachers and parents to participate in the process when the need arises.
We want to have policies that are very clear, policies that are very pragmatic. They're not going to simply be academic documents that are stuck in a cupboard. We want persons who work throughout the system to be able to move towards an improvingly higher quality education product, because we can measure exactly where we're going. So we want it to be transparent, and we want to have high levels of accountability throughout our entire system.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. We're just at about 7:10 a.m. And in this first segment this morning, we will be chatting with Dr. Denise Sawyer Angus, former presiding officer of the Tobago House of Assembly. And we speak THA budget 2023-2024. We're looking at the fiscal package and the breakdown. This year's budget would have been themed Building a Sustainable, Prosperous and Resilient Tobago. Good morning to you, Dr. Angus.
Good morning, Julian. Good morning to your Tobago Updates fans and, of course, everybody, wherever you are listening and viewing.
So I want to start off by getting your initial reaction. You have had the privilege of sitting from the standpoint of the chair, as well as being a part and sitting on different arms of the Tobago House of Assembly. Your initial perspective with what is being described, certainly as this is definitely the second presentation of a budget and a fiscal package with this current administration.
Yeah. From sitting in the chair, you know, I think this administration has taken up an adversarial approach to everything. And I think that is part of my concerns with it. We all, in different countries, different leaders have to interact with other leaders. But you don't, even though you know that they don't get along as they should, or they don't have an appreciation for each other as they should, you don't have that public, expression of how you feel about the other leaders that you're not in sync with. And for me, that is the challenge that I'm having with the consistent blows from either side, throwing, and quite rough game playing. And I ask myself, for foreign investors who are sitting outside of Tobago, seeing leaders within the country behaving like that towards each other, are they considering that it is stable enough, an arrangement to invest, or whether they have to stand back and look on for now? And it is something that I think the administration, you can disagree without going to the level of rancor and viciousness in your language when you talk about various leaders.
Your positioning, and it's a very important, interesting point that you've raised. How do you then make the comparison with those who are probably of the view that the only time Tobago is actually able to get something or to benefit is, when there's this fight? Or would you rather say it seems to be politically expedient because people seem to love the concept of he or she is fighting for me and fighting for Tobago?
There's a difference with fighting and being downright disrespectful. In a fight, you don't have to be disrespectful. Yeah? And I think that we are seeing a significant increase in the amount of disrespect in the language, in, just referring to each other. And I dare say this, that today it may be the Prime Minister, tomorrow it may be you, and the next day it will be me. That kind of consistent disrespect will not just stay at the level of a prime minister or at the level of the ministers or the minority. One day, it is going to get to the people and to individuals, even within their circle.
Now, I want to do a little comparative with regards to the figures. Last year, at the very first presentation of this current administration, they would have requested an estimate of just under 4 billion, about 3.97 or so. When the budget was actually presented at the national level by central government, Tobago was in receipt of just about 2.6 billion, in keeping with that lower limit of the just over 4% by the Dispute Resolution Commission. This time around, in anticipation that the national budget is going to be higher, as the Chief Secretary would have indicated, the request has been just about $4.5 or so billion being requested this year. Are you hopeful, any at all, that you will see an increased allocation, bearing in mind we seem to be very familiar with getting, over the years, what is closer to the lower limit of just over 4% of the national budget in relation to the dispute resolution. And most seem not to be familiar that the dispute resolution also gives an upper limit of, I think it's just about under 7%, 6.9 or so, 6.9%. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are that, this is where the disingenuousness of the central government comes in, and especially the current PNM administration, because I heard the minority leader suggest that if we had the bills approved, we would have the 6.9%. But I'm here to say, they don't have to approve any bills to give us that 6.9%. And it is unfortunate that we have never even gotten to 5% in any administration, which tells us that, there's always a standoff. It is either that, and we can't say the administration has no confidence, because even when the PNM was in Trinidad and PNM was in Tobago, you got the 4.03%. But what was even worse, there were a few times where the monies were not sent to Tobago within the last administration, where Jack as secretary accepted some of the decrease in the allocations. So I would support, taking it to a court of law if the monies have been short, because I know that was alluded to. I would support them taking the central government to court to retrieve what was approved to them and continue to advocate for more. But we see that successive central governments have no zeal to even give us anywhere close to the 6.9%, which is already approved. They haven't even given us, say, okay, let's give them 5% and see what they do with it.
As a means
and
of
that
goodwill.
has not, yes, and that has never happened. So I wouldn't hold my breath this time over.
You touched on the next area that I wanted to look at, the claims made by the Chief Secretary. So are you saying that from where you sit, there may be some legitimacy to it?
Yes.
In terms of the funds that would have been allocated, not all coming to Tobago?
Yes, because in the lead up to the elections, when we reviewed the finances of the the THA back then, we found there were instances where not all the monies came to Tobago that was due to Tobago. So I would advocate for taking that to the legal battleground and seeing where we get to recover those funds. And yeah, so I would support that.
All right, viewers, as we prepare, we're going to be continuing the discussion, looking at some of the highlights and the areas. We're going to speak housing, education, a number of the initiatives that were presented by the Chief Secretary yesterday when we returned from the break. And we want to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Right now, Tobagonians are just currying down to Bon Accord. right in Stobie Local Road. You know why? To come down and shop at Authentic Builders General Hardware, the only hardware store in Tobago that is giving you guys Trinidad prices. So for instance, such as steel, half-inch and 5/8, $7,895. 5/8 construction ply for $260. Every single thing that you will need to do your home renovation or start your new construction, we have it right here. And to get your quotation, it's very easy. Just WhatsApp us at 272-1990 and we will do your free WhatsApp quotation for you.
Jimmy's Holiday Resorts has 1, 2 and 3 bedroom fully self-contained apartments located at the heart of Crown Point. Minutes walk to the popular beaches, restaurants, bars and the airport. Enjoy our amazing amenities such as fully equipped apartments complete with Wi-Fi, AC, TV and a pool and a mini-mart on the compound. Call 639-8292 or 8929. Jimmy's Holiday Resorts is your family's home away from home. Full disclosure with the executive every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on Tobago Updates. Real questions and honest conversations with the sole aim of keeping you fully in the know. Full disclosure with the executive every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on Tobago Updates.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. We're just at about 7:21 a.m. And this morning we continue the conversation with Dr. Denise Sawyer at Angers as we speak THA budget fiscal 2024. And just before we went to the break, we would have started on just a few areas, and I wanted us to head on in. Now, we saw a scenario where the Chief Secretary described that notwithstanding the reduced amount that would have been received. And I'm only saying reduced in the context of what was requested versus what was received, but still in keeping with that, just over 4%. He highlighted a number of areas in terms of achievements that would have taken place over the year, even with limited funds. Your thoughts in relation to the achievements, but more so where you felt there were gaps in terms of areas that were not treated with based on the commitments coming from last fiscal.
Well, the challenge is that the overall view doesn't give a true picture of how the monies have been spent. And that is where we are hoping that the different divisions will drill down to show where those monies have gone. And, we're still not hearing the overall recovery plan post-COVID to stimulate the economy and what was really done. Yes, monies were spent on roadways and all of that, but we see the conflict and controversy where were those monies that were spent, how much of it would have stayed in Tobago to continue stimulating the Tobago economy versus, were they spent in areas that took it back to Trinidad. So we know that controversy is there. We cannot ignore it. And, when they consider, because again, you go to your boss, you tell him you want a raise. He ain't give you the raise. You're still operating with a little more than what you had before. It's for us to sit down and see how do we adequately put the money where it is needed. And being on the ground, you're still hearing too many people crying out in pain about not even being able to put food adequately on their tables. So there is an underlying issue that has not been dealt with in the Tobago space in terms of treating with the quality of life of our Tobagonians. And I know that things can't turn over overnight, but still, there's still too many cries of people who just can't make the ends meet anymore. And we need to see, how did they treat with that in the last year? That has not come out clearly in terms of how it has been.
You spoke there, Dr. Angus, and I couldn't help but have a particular question triggered for me. Are we still at a point where it is we have not yet been able to dissect and to get the budget to a perspective that the average man is able to appreciate? And by that, I quite simply mean, if I am not in media or you are not necessarily in politics and we just going about our private lives, is it that we are still not yet at a point where the budget now has to be dissected in such a way so that it is able to reach the average man understanding how I am expected to benefit from this? Your thoughts?
Correct. And let's go back to the house. So money's coming into the house, you're having a salary. You need to consider if that salary cannot make it, and if every time you ask your employer for a raise, they're ignoring you, then how can you take those monies that you're getting in, yes, to put some food on the table, but to take some of that money and begin investing it in whether it is a business or something that can then begin to get you greater returns. So at the end of the day, if the employer gives you more money or not, you have the greater returns that you have coming in. And so that is one of the things that we have to look at. Where do we begin to spend that money? How do we spend it in such a way that we are building industries such that there is a return on an investment over time when you set up these industries? Take, for instance, we're having this carnival event. How do we move that carnival event from just, where it is into blossoming such that even though the carnival event has taken place, over the next year you're seeing spin-offs from the investment you made into that carnival product. That it is not just a head-on-bed situation or a transportation situation that you can measure for persons coming in. We all know that we are in the realm of animation and the digital world. How can we capture what has been happening and convert it into that platform and market it throughout the year, instead of games that young people play where it may be war games, you create a carnival game. There's so much that can be done with our cultural products, and we need to look at it. How do you marry fashion and music? There was a program that we had when I was there, looking at marrying the fashion industry to the music industry. When you purchase a piece of Tobago fashion, that you're purchasing also along with it a piece of a local artist. You getting exposure on both ends. So we have to begin thinking more than just, okay, we get the budget from Trinidad and this is what we can spend it on. How do you invest? And we're not talking about just putting up buildings and building roads. How can we invest that into building out industries such that we begin to see return on investment over time, and therefore successive administrations, we don't have to keep up the total fight on, okay, I asked you for this, you didn't give me this.
So would you therefore say, and I'm tapping in a little bit to your experience, I know you've served as secretary within the Division of Culture and so on, and also chair for the Festivals Commission. Would you say that we have to begin to look at what is more of a business model in terms of our festivals for Tobago? Because it came up in large question this year about quote unquote, a loss with regards to the jazz and the Tobago Carnival and so. And then, I had to remind persons that what we have to do is really look at a long-term plan. Give me your perspective on that, because for as long as I have sat and paid attention on the current platform, we have almost never perhaps done festivals with the intent to generate revenue, but the focus being in the first instance promoting the island? Where do we need to go in that context as one of the mechanisms in Tobago?
You mean where are we being forced to go? You know, we are at the point now where, yes, we have to find ways to monetize the festivals. And monetizing the festivals is not just about gate receipts. There are many more ways to monetize it. And that is a decision that we have to make. And you have to realize that in order to go down the road of monetizing it, that you have to have some investments meaningfully placed to then begin see the returns on the investment coming back out of it. But yes, it is. In fact, we need to make a decision that anything we do on this island, how do we begin monetizing it so we begin to get the returns on investment? We can't continue saying, well, you know, they didn't give us a raise. So, I mean, that language is outdated. They didn't give you a raise, no problem. What are you doing with what they gave you such that, you know, you create your own raise inside of it?
All right. We got to leave it there this morning, viewers. Thank you very much, Dr. Denise Sawyer, Fat Anglers. We're just out of time for joining us here on the Tobago Updates, a morning show. And really sending a clear message. It doesn't matter where you sit from politically. You know that there's the need for more for Tobago. But even if that more isn't coming from central government, the institution and the government has a responsibility, and collectively as a people, we've got to find ways, just as we would do in our households accordingly. Interesting message coming forward here from Dr. Denise Sawyer Fat Angus. Thank you so much for joining us here on set. Viewers, we prepare coming up next. We look forward to discussions with TPAC as we speak once on This Island, the musical. So we look forward to those upcoming discussions, and we wish to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
The best place to stay in Tobago is at Thorn's Place, with rates starting as low as 200 TT. Call or WhatsApp 745-7306 or 682-8676. We are located uptown Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port. Remember, at Thorn's Place, our aim is to make your stay safe and affordable.
Are you flood ready? Recycle and properly dispose of large waste. Avoid sweeping yard clippings or trash into drains. Plant trees to avoid soil erosion. An initiative to help people prevent, prepare, recover. Tatil, where people are people. Are you flood ready? Monitor trusted sources for info. Wear protective gear when you clean up. Contact your insurance provider to assess the damage. An initiative to help people prevent, prepare, recover. Tatil, where people are people. Are you flood ready? Review and update insurance coverage. Install floodgates and barriers. Create a family flood plan. An initiative to help people prevent, prepare, recover. Tatil, where people are people.
Are you looking for a place for your loved ones? Heavenly Care welcomes you. Located at Northside Road opposite Massey Motors, we offer a variety of services. These include doctor visitations, social activities, geriatric care, and much more. Contact us at 277-9595 or visit us at Northside Road opposite Massey Motors. At Heavenly Care, compassion is at the heart of all care.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up and look, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up and look. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show. October will never be better. With Tobago, carnival fever. Book your passage and come on over.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning.
Yes, viewers, and the video speaks for itself. And to give you a little more details and insight, once we got T-Pac on, it's always something exciting. And certainly this morning, we are happy to have on set with us Rishon Pierre-Kerr and OJ Richards, Artistic Director and Orchestra Coordinator, respectively, joining us as we speak about the musical. Good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning.
So I want to get started with the info that we just saw there first. So we dive in right into the thing. Yeah. Tell us, what is Once on This Island, the musical?
So Once on This Island is a Broadway-style musical that is written about an Antillean island. The story is set in the Caribbean, and it really celebrates the beauty and complexity, but also the histories that have been brought about through the Caribbeans becoming, in Tobago's particular context, celebrates the music and the dance, as well as some of the challenges that we still face on island and in the wider Caribbean.
All right. OJ, tell us a little bit specifically. I know just some time back we would have had, what do you all call them, bringing on... I say interns, but I know Jared will correct me, the residents and so on. Tell me about the involvement in terms of really ensuring that there's that wide cross-section of persons benefiting from and showcasing our culture.
Well, as you know, T-Pac covers all ranges, so we have music, dance, acting, but at this moment we outsource some musicians to come in to supplement for this musical here, and fortunately enough, we were able to bring it to our island, as you know, the steel pan. As you may not know, the play itself, Once on This Island, is based around instruments such as, you have the violin, the guitar, the drums, the timpanis, a whole cacophony of orchestral instruments. But we wanted to bring some sort of semblance to our culture here with the steel pan. So myself and my assistant Kishore and Julian, we would have transcribed a lot of the music to kind of fall into the line of using the steel pan, but also complemented by violin, drums. So it brings that island experience, but it also has the capabilities of the Western instruments as well.
Tell me a little bit about the choice and venue. Yes, folks, this is not Bitter Cassava happening at the Shore Park complex. We're going on the outdoor. Tell me a little bit about that choice in relation to the musical.
I mean, the title speaks for itself. We felt like, there were a number of factors, but one of the main ones was that we felt that if you're dealing with an island play that is set on an island, and I don't want to give away too much, but it happens in the middle of a storm, why not situate it within an island space so that you get the natural aesthetic of the environment, you get the nuances of the trees and the breeze and the sound of the birds. So we opted to, just as the place suggests, go outdoors, and what better venues there than our very celebrated Pigeon Point and the beautiful Pigeon Point Pavilion.
And we're all about the optics as well. So even from the time you enter, from the gates, you come in, you see in the trees, we already put you into that zone of, I'm on the island.
It's pure magic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow, you have me already thinking about. Remind us again of the dates that we can certainly look forward to this production taking place.
So it's from Thursday the 29th to the 1st of July.
Yes,
29th of June to 1st of July.
Yeah.
So is it that there will be, these are repeat nights, or it's kind of the build up in terms of the story? How do the nights run?
So similar to Bitter Cassava, it's just repeat nights.
Yeah.
So we have from the 29th to the 1st, all repeated nights of the same show.
Yeah.
So then if you're in a case like, I know one or two of my friends, You went the first night, you feel it and grasp it, you could come back again.
You can, but if you could get a ticket.
Definitely, yeah. You definitely can come again if you could get the ticket.
Yeah, if you could
because
get
I mean, you know, from the first time you see the first show, you might more than likely want to come again. And people might rush to get the tickets, so get your tickets fast.
All right, so I'm seeing the online option. What other avenues are there? Tickets be available and the cost?
So there are two options for purchase. islandetickets.com, and tickets are available at the Shore Park box office between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. daily, and on the days of the show, tickets will be sold at the venue.
All right. You know, I have to put a little teaser out there. What main characters can we look for? What can you release here?
I'm wondering how much we can release without giving out too much of the story.
I know.
Any main character that we can look forward to?
Well, I can tell you this: the play is fantasy. So it's mythical and it's magical, wonderful for children. There are 4 people who are responsible for the fate of the main character, and they're a combination of mischief and beauty, but that's all I would say. If I say anything more, I'll be giving it away. You have to see it.
Talking to you all is like talking to Jared. Or they ain't giving out anything at all.
We can't give too much.
I'd like you know, for the benefit of Tobago, T-Park has really made significant strides since coming on board. Remind us again of how this ties into that greater, responsibility of the Tobago Performing Arts Company.
Our mandate is multi-prone. So from the very onset, we know that we wanted to do something that was different from Bitter Cassava, because Once on This Island is a different kind of story, different kind of design from Bitter Cassava in the first instance, to keep our audiences excited. Because one of the things that we said in the very beginning is that we're building a culture of theatre-going audiences, both in the local space and the domestic space, and we've actively been going after the regional and international market. So it is about building audiences, because of course we're talking about the business of the thing. We want to give our students on island who have been excelling at Cape and at CSEC, particularly in the visual and performing arts, the experience of looking at live theatre, seeing process run. We actually had an open rehearsal last Wednesday, and we invited students from all over the island to get to experience what that process development is like. Actors working, actors taking direction, dancers taking direction, the music director, who is OJ in this instance, giving directions. And the final instance, again, and I'm going back to the money, is also about ensuring that mandate, which is to keep the company financially viable, to keep the business machinery of the company going. It is also about us being able to attract that. This is a Broadway musical that is licensed by Music Theatre International. So it falls squarely into, again, us going behind the international conversations, because we are Tobago, but we have our eyes set on presenting Tobago to all of the world. So it's a combination of all of those things.
Just before we wrap, tell us a little bit about what we're seeing on screen.
This is the open rehearsal that we had. We invited students from various schools over Tobago. It was quite intriguing to see how interested these students were. I think the question and answer segment took up probably about an hour or so, because these students were very much interested in what we were doing, and they were intrigued and wanting to get into it. And it was a great opportunity to show that there are opportunities outside of being a bank teller, being a physicist or whatnot. If you want to go into the orange economy and you want to be a performer, there is a space for you there, and we were happy to show that we have the avenue there for that.
Excellent. Just before we close, I want you to remind our viewers, when is it taking place? Where is it taking place? Where can they get tickets to ensure that they come out and support?
So it's Thursday the 29th this Thursday the 29th of June to the 1st of July. You want to tell them where we can get the tickets?
You can get your tickets at islandetickets.com. is on screen, and the Shore Park Complex box office tickets cost $100 for children, only $100, and $200 for adults. There are limited tickets because, you know, the pavilion is not a very large space. There are limited tickets, so you want to secure yours right now. You have to to be part of the magic. You can't miss this one.
If you were there for Bitter Cassava, if you were not there, if you heard about it, trust me, you don't want to miss this. You don't want to miss this.
And I'd probably add in a line that they seem to emphasize. This is not your kind of event, Tobago and those on the island, that you can go to late. You've got to be on time to ensure that you benefit in every possible way.
True.
I want to say thank you very much for joining us on set. Rishon Pierre, Artistic Director, and OJ Richards, Orchestra Coordinator, are certainly persons who we are very, very proud of indeed. Young people leading the way. And I feel like, you know, we can breathe a sigh of relief in the sense that when we were all at university, there was the wonder. Is there a pathway for persons in the performing arts right here in Tobago? And TPAC has certainly created that avenue and continues to make strides. So certainly kudos to the entire team there at TPAC. Viewers, we want to remind you, coming up in our final interview, we would be speaking about, we're heading into that July-August period. Or some will call it summertime. Some will get upset and say, no, we don't have summer here. In any event, we've got that upcoming period where our students and our children are out of school and we're going to be speaking. Kids Can Sew Camp. And as you see on screen, LaToya Anderson will be joining us. So we look forward to those upcoming discussions. And viewers, we want to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
Advertise with Tobago Updates. Call 284-6597. If you have a small or large business, we can get your information in front of the masses. Reach our rapidly growing viewership on Facebook and YouTube. Promote your brand in Trinidad and the Caribbean through M&E TV Now and Gayel. Yes, we can build unique ads for your business. Call now 284-6597 and advertise with us.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers. We're just at about 7:48 a.m. and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. On set with us, viewers, we have Latoya Anderson, the director and seamstress of Toya's Design Plus, and we're speaking Kids Can Sew Camp. And I must add in here for the benefit of Ria as well. This is one of our loyal supporters to Tobago and Updates. Very encouraging from day one. Good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, Jordan.
All right, so as we get the conversation started, we're speaking Toya's Design Plus. Tell us a little bit about who is Latoya Anderson and that inspiration for diving into that realm.
Okay, first off, my name is Latoya Anderson, as you would have heard. I am 37 years of age. I reside in Mount Pleasant, Tobago. I have two beautiful children, ages 16 and 10. And the inspiration for me starting off this business was mainly I worked at a clothing store. And the name itself came to me as a objective of seeing plus size women coming into the store and not having anything to wear. So hence the reason it has a plus at the end of the name. Toya, not just Toya's Designs, but it has a plus. So it was more catered for plus size women, because we know Tobago space has a lot of full-figured women, beautiful full-figured women. So that is where the name stemmed from originally.
All right, very interesting. So we're going into what is the Kids Can Sew Camp.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that. Is this the first time that you're executing it?
No, it's not. It's been executed first in the year 2018.
All right, so it started in 2018. Tell us about a little bit about the impact then, and then we're going to go into this year.
It was good. It was a good turnout. I had about 7 children. I didn't get a venue, so I did it at home. And it was amazing. I must say the children's energy was even more better than adults who are learning to sew, because I would have been in a couple classes, white up for one, and the energy, the excitement that the children gave me, that extra push to keep on doing it. They can sew. Once you guide them accordingly.
All right, making that connection. So what age group would you be targeting for
as low
this
as ages 6 years and over.
So 6 years and over?
6 years and over.
All right, and what's the cost associated with the camp?
The cost is $1,000. It is all inclusive. The only thing they need to come with is their energy. They're persistent to learn. And I encourage all mothers, boy or girl, to go and choose whatever fabric. I mean, having them choose a pretty fabric that they would, rather than you bring them, you know, it gives them an extra excitement. So, yeah, mommy giving me the option of choosing what I want, you know, so that's the only thing they need to come with.
All right, and what's the duration of the course for it's going for the full July-August period, or?
It's for 4 days, 1 day per week, in acknowledgement, because my time and my schedule is very busy, but I still have a certain interest in doing it, and persons have been reaching out to me, so I still decided to find the time to accommodate them.
All right. So I just want to be clear. I can literally just send my young one and the persons looking on there. I don't even have to buy the thread to send them with.
No. No thread, no zip, just come.
All right. What can children expect to be exposed to, you know, at something like this? Because, you know, we even have adults that cannot even use a needle to tack back something.
There are a lot of adults who have machines at home and don't know how to start the machine.
Correct. They kind of look good in the space. But what would these children leave with, you know, some of the basics?
They would actually learn to sew. They would learn to sew. It seems like a short space of time to learn, but they would learn once I guide them accordingly and correctly, safely, because, you know, it's a machine. Yes. It has its dangers. I was inspired by Carredi. I did a Carredi in Wim Anglican. And because of that, that even that even inspired me more. Because today, that young girl does hair bonnets as a business, Wim Anglican. Yeah, nice. That was really nice.
And you see why this becomes so important in terms of lending that support from very young, because one might say normally, a 6-year-old, what? I don't even think I want her close to a machine. But here it is, you're saying that has served to inspire and to encourage others. What do you say to parents who are probably worried about the safety issues associated with it? What comfort can you give to those parents?
If you cannot afford to send them, I mean, there are couple of videos on YouTube that can't guide you according, because I would have done my research before I even started. I had the idea of how to do it, but I still researched. Guide them, because it's a machine. Watch them, don't discourage them, because they can handle it. They can.
So would you say, is that one of the reasons why you'd stick to, for now, lower numbers so that you can have that one-on-one guidance?
The numbers to me, it doesn't matter, because they listen.
Oh.
Yeah, they're very attentive.
All right.
At age 6 and over.
All right.
Very.
So parents, here it is. You've got upcoming activities for the July-August period. And I'm seeing another question coming in here. Is it a whole day activity, or it's part of the day?
Because time flies and sewing is fun, I might schedule a 9 to 2 and it might go to 9 to 4 because they doesn't want to go home.
So they have an opportunity to
They have an opportunity.
Right. So it's going to be happening 1 day per week for a 4-week period. And the cost is $1,000 per person. And you just have to come with your
energy
excitement
and excitement, your willingness to learn, and a nice fabric.
All right. I like the idea. Just remind us some of the items that the persons will be able to sew and be a part of. I'm seeing hair bonnets.
Yes, hair bonnets. Well, we know we females like to cover our head. Tobago too. Hair bonnets, pencil cases, pillows. Pillows would be more or less throw pillows, but learning the throw pillows will guide them how to actually make a pillow to sleep on. Yeah. Pillows, bags, tote bags. And they're actually learning all these in 4 days.
All right, excellent. Anything else you'd want to share before we close this morning?
Just want to encourage the parents to do not discourage the children into learning anything new, whether it be sewing or anything, because they would learn. They are children, they are learning, they are growing.
All right, excellent. Contact information for you, Latoya.
793-5560, or you can visit Facebook at Toya's Designs Plus.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much, Latoya Anderson, Director and Seamstress at Toya's Design Plus, coming to inform us and enlighten us about the Kids Can Sew Camp 2023. So certainly, folks, have no fear. Toya's got this covered, so send out those children and those young persons so that they can get the opportunity to be exposed. As I grew up learning, you can't go wrong by learning a skill. Certainly, it can help you in times down the road. You can't go wrong at all. So we want to thank each and every one for continuing to connect with the Tobago Updates morning show. Just before we head out this morning, we also want to make reference to an upcoming breakfast sale. This breakfast sale takes place there. It's $50, delivery $15, and it's going to be happening at the Shore Park Food Hub on Friday, June 30th from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. Baked, fried fish, salt fish, smoked herring, vegetarian, and so much more. Contact information 474-2200, 680-0202, 792-8530, and 757-2479. And I see that the breakfast sale is off from 7 a.m. So I know that there would be one for me to collect by the time I leave studio on a Friday. And I also want to highlight, we have upcoming this evening, the Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago is hosting Empower Girls, Empower the World. And the key topics being dealt with is financial empowerment, professional empowerment, and educational empowerment. We look forward to those discussions. This takes place at the Shore Park Complex this evening, June 27th, and it takes place from 5 p.m., being hosted by the Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago. Contact info for more information is 297-3777. Empowering girls, empower the world. So certainly we are encouraging persons to head on out and lend your support in terms of these initiatives and activities taking place. All right, viewers, we thank you so much for the continued love and support, and we thank you for continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show. From here, we head on over to, we will be having Tobago Notes, and then we go straight on over to GMT. And tomorrow you can certainly look forward to the Tobago Updates morning show, Youth Wednesday. All right, viewers, we want to say thank you so much for continuing to choose us. Thank you for continuing to connect with us, to each and every one of you. And a quick shout out to those on the live this morning. My very good friend out there, Andra Joe Field, Aina Anthony, Tanessa Lawrence, good morning to you. Russell Morrison, Ann Roberts, Abby Taylor, Presiding Officer Abby Taylor, Loma Woods, Laverne Simon, good morning to you. Kahia Wilson, Ricardo Warner, Lisa Samuel, good morning to each and every one of you, and thank you so much for continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show. We say bye-bye for now, but stay tuned. We're heading straight on into Tobago Notes, followed by GMT.
Hey, I'm last off the bus today, and that's only because I'm rolling with the Commonwealth contingent that's on the island to tour some of the facilities and accommodation ahead of the 2023 Commonwealth Youth Games to be held in August. So stay with us, it promises to be fun.
As far as I'm concerned, the Commonwealth Games have well and truly started, because by the time teams come sending out their teams to do the reconnoiter, recce patrols, as the military people would say, they are already in games mode. They want to find out what the hotel accommodation is like, what the playing facilities are like, what the playing conditions are like. They're enjoying it, they're enjoying the experience so far, and also they're doing some serious work, because they are doing formal reports and everything that they've seen, and so far everybody seems to be satisfied.
Everybody loves the hotels. We even getting there saying, oh, I want to come here, I want to stay here. They prefer to be over here for the games. They're really excited about the staying at the Magdalena and Mount Irving, and they love the Boko atmosphere, all the shopper facilities.
It's the first time I've been to Tobago. I really enjoyed the entire site visits, the facilities, the accommodation. Everyone was very nice, everyone was very accommodating. The venues are acceptable. The island is beautiful, it's clean, it's refreshing, it's everything. It's one of these places that's like a little piece of paradise. Although I'm from Barbados and that's paradise, but it's a little piece of paradise. So this is the feeling of everybody. We have Guyana, Canada, Kenya, Northern Ireland. So that's how we felt. We had a really good time today.
It was a really fun group. We had a great time. It has me even more excited about what's to come in August for the Commonwealth Youth Games Tobago 2023. And of course, it's from August 2nd to 12th. So you don't want to miss it. And we at the Information Department will be keeping you abreast of all the happenings leading straight up to the games.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Tapicom. Welcome to the future. The only card you will need in a new world. Digital business cards. Safe, hassle-free. The future is here. Tapicom, new generation digital transfer. Digital time clock cards. Digital attendance cards. Air tags. Customized designs. Digital clothing tags. Digital pet tags. Tapicom, the future is here. Contact us today.
Yes, be careful.
Honey, I feel I'm going to start to cook, yes, because these children must be hungry now. Right?
Oh, shucks. Oh. These plugs, oh my gosh.
Hey, relax. Hey, come from there. Come from there.
What's going on in here?
Oh God, boy. What would you do if this happened to you? Dial 990 in case of fire emergencies and always have a serviceable fire extinguisher ready and available at all times.
Jimmy's Holiday Resorts has 1, 2, and 3 bedroom fully self-contained apartments located at the heart of Crown Point. Minutes walk to the popular beaches, restaurants, bars, and the airport. Enjoy our amazing amenities such as fully equipped apartments complete with Wi-Fi, AC, TV, and a pool, and a mini-mart on the compound. Call 639-8292 or 8929. Jimmy's Holiday Resorts is your family's home away from home.
Yeah. Hey.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago.
Welcome to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region. With the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine, I am Candace Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds. Chief Secretary and Secretary of Finance, Trade and the Economy, Fally Augustine, presented a $4.54 billion budget in the House yesterday. When disaggregated, the total accounts for $3.39 billion in recurrent expenditure, $1.15 billion for developmental funding, and $97 million for URP, with $44.77 million for CPAP. Augustine explained the total equals to 6.9% of the national budget, with an estimation of $65.78 billion. Among the highlights mentioned were a $20 million climate resilience insurance policy, waivers for investments at Cove Eco-Industrial Park, and digitized governance systems, and the establishment of a Tobago Development Bank. Meanwhile, basing the THA budget on 6.9% of the national budget is unrealistic, according to Minority Leader Kelvin Morris. Responding to Augustine's budget presentation, Morris said the presentation showed they cannot be trusted with public funds. He claimed that every week there is some new allegation of corruption or misuse of public funds, while they continue to break promises made to the people of Tobago. Additionally, Morris stated there is a lack of public trust and confidence in the Chief Secretary. Debate on the budget is scheduled for Thursday. And finally, while the Chief Secretary delivered his budget presentation in the House, several people gathered in James Park for a protest. Dressed in white, the group consisted of PNM members. Among them were former assemblymen and persons whose contracts were not renewed in 2022. They demanded Augustine and the entire Executive Council step down and call early elections. Meanwhile, Ansel Dennis, the political leader of the Tobago Council of the PNM, stated that he found it difficult to listen to the budget presentation because of recent allegations of mishandling of public funds. And that was in news in 90 seconds, viewers. Well, we are expecting Chief Secretary Fally Augustine to be on with us shortly, and he is going to be discussing the budget, among other things, and hopefully can get to some other things that are floating around in the public space. But until he gets here, here. I mean, just bring you up to date with just a little notice of a breakfast sale. And this is from the Shore Park Food Hub happening on Friday, 30th of June, which is this Friday. And they are offering a menu of baked fried fish, saltfish, smoked herring, vegetarian, and so much more. So if you want tickets, you can call your nearest district office or call 474-2200 or 680-0202 or 792-8530 or 757-2479. So it's only $50 and there's a delivery cost of $15. So you're going to want to get yourself connected, get some good Tobago breakfast from the Shore Park Food Hub. Now, just for a little update on what's been happening, of course, we know the budget took place yesterday, and I mean, we touched on a couple of things in the news, but there is a whole lot more. The Chief Secretary spoke for 3 hours yesterday, just about. He said at the beginning of his presentation, he stated that, he was going to avoid speaking for 4 hours like he did last year. I know us in the media and so on appreciated the last time for the speaking time. But however, Augustine had a lot to say in terms of the development of Tobago and some of the plans that his administration would like to execute. So they are hoping that they can get the total funding requested. Now, we know traditionally the THA has never gotten the full funding that they've requested from central government. So it begs to be seen what can be expected when the budget is read, the national budget that is read in October, at the end of September, beginning of October of this year. So amongst some of the things that were mentioned was that of, establishing 520 housing units within a year, hopefully within a year. 20 of those will be low-cost units, while 500 would be regular units. And they are hoping to get some Tobago contractors involved in construction of these homes. In fact, Mr. Augustine issued a call for Tobago contractors to register for the tendering process and so on, and make sure that their paperwork is all sorted, so they can get connected when these opportunities arise, when the tenders go out. They are also working towards providing housing lots for Tobagonians. So there are many different areas around Tobago that they are looking at towards developing. And so instead of, granting people actual houses, they will be able to get the lots so that you can construct your own home. I know for a lot of people, this is a positive move. I mean, some people just likes to, start small and build your home just perfectly to fit their wants and their needs. So, I mean, if this can come to fruition, I know a lot of people would appreciate that. Now, in terms of tourism, the Chief Secretary said that, for instance, the Manta Lodge, which was completed a few months ago, that would be operationalized in the coming months. Now, he did not give any details about that, but just to say that it'll be operationalized, he mentioned the fact that we are continuing towards acquiring new airlift to Tobago, and they're looking at Scandinavia, they're looking at Eastern Europe a little bit, they're looking at North America. We had the confirmation not too long ago of a new chartered flight that's going to be coming from Miami in August, and that flight will be based on demand when it begins. So we're looking forward to see how that goes. Among some of the interesting things that were mentioned, I want to touch on this e-Pixel initiative that was announced. Now, over the last 2 years, the Chief Secretary explained that we were developing animation capabilities here in Tobago, meaning that, our creatives, those who are good at graphic designs and so on, who are interested in animation, have been working towards building that industry here in Tobago. And that is almost ready to go out to the world in a big way. So he said that soon we'll be be able to accept business from not just from Tobago, but from Trinidad, from the region, and maybe around the world, because we have the talent here. And so that's something to look forward to. In terms of education, he touched on the changes that are going to come to the education sector, and especially where learning from the COVID-19 experience, where classes were forced online. Now, the Chief Secretary mentioned that we can't just think about having virtual classes. We have to think about online learning, having a system where students can learn at their own pace, where teachers can check in on the progress of the students periodically and so on, having that option available as an alternative form of education within our system. And of course, we also know that what we've been hearing since this administration began their term, that they are looking towards reforming the education system, towards including more of Tobago-centric curriculum in schools. We are still yet to hear, from the team that's designated to do that, what they have come up with so far. As far as we know, they are still conducting the research. They're still coming up with the plan that hopefully will get to be implemented sometime soon. Now, another one of the highlights that the Chief Secretary touched on was that, excuse me, of climate resilience. Now, we know that we know what we experienced last year with the heavy rainfalls. Unfortunately, as where climate change is happening, our storms, everything, our weather patterns are changing. And as we experienced last year, it's getting worse and worse. And what happened, as you all would know, is that our road infrastructure, for instance, was severely undermined. And in a lot of parts, especially in the northeastern parts of Tobago, it would take a lot of work to reconstruct those roads so that it can stand up to future adverse weather conditions. Because we have to be thinking along this line. See, we can't just put some asphalt over the road and hope that it would stand it. It has to be reconstructed in a sustainable way that would stand up to anything that comes its way. So the Chief Secretary spoke to that, and he also said that it's not going to be an overnight fix. There's a lot of research and so on that needs to go on into it, a lot of feasibility studies to make sure that what we're doing can stand up. And he announced that a $20 million climate resilience policy. And he's saying this in light of, even though there were commitments made at COP27, where the nations of the world gave a commitment, especially those large nations of the world, gave a commitment to supporting, to contributing to the $100 billion fund that is needed for climate resilience, to give to the smaller countries, because let's be honest, it is a lot of the larger countries that that actually have the money and that are contributing to the problems that we're facing here as a result of climate change. So the Chief Secretary mentioned that we need to take this step on our own. We can't just wait for them to act, because we don't know if those large countries would keep those commitments, or even if we in Tobago would benefit. So he's starting with a $20 million climate resilience insurance policy, as well as encouraging businesses and hoteliers and so on to make the necessary adjustments like reusing renewable resources and so on to make that happen. All right, viewers, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll be chatting with Chief Secretary Fali Augustine on the budget and several other issues within the space.
The energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor. Do something, Johnny.
Call fire.
What's the number? Oh God.
Fan emergency. Good afternoon. You said the building is on fire. Are there any persons trapped? 4 persons. What is the address of the call, ma'am? Number 4, Candy Drive, Pier Road. Can I have your name, please? Miss Bihari. Thank you, Miss Bihari. I'll be dispatching an appliance. Central Control from Fire Control.
Go ahead, Fire Control.
Central Control receiving over.
Central Control, have a plans and crew. Respond to our residential fire. Residential fire. Same is at number 4, Kakandi Drive, Peru, Tribonas. 4 persons are trapped, 2 adults, 2 children. They weren't able to make contact with fire service, so she called on their behalf.
Transmission received loud and clear, loud and clear. Operator at Central Control, 3463. Firefighter Wiley, Central Controller.
Create an evacuation plan for you and your family and practice your escape. Always ensure you have more than one way to safely exit your home. Your lives may depend on it.
Right now, Tobagonians are just currying down to Bonaccord, right in Stobie Local Road. You know why? To come down and shop at Authentic Builders General Hardware, the only hardware store in Tobago that is giving you guys Trinidad prices. So for instance, such as steel, 1/2 inch and 5/8, $7,895. 5/8 construction ply for $260. Every single thing that you will need to do your home renovation or start your new construction, we have it right here. And to get your quotation, it's very easy. Just WhatsApp us at 272-1990 and we will do your free WhatsApp quotation for you.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
Yeah. Hey.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Well, viewers, as promised, we are now joined by the Honorable Chief Secretary Fali Augustine, as well as, and he also holds a portfolio of the Secretary of Finance, Trade, and the Economy. I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been a while.
Yes, good morning. It has been a while, but glad to be here. Good morning, Tobago. Good morning, those who are watching from further afield, because I know we have quite a large diaspora audience, especially.
Mhm.
So we welcome them as well, because I'm of the belief that you're Tobagonian wherever you choose to live and work.
And of course, you are joining us at a point in time where Tobago Updates is just no longer a streaming thing. We
Correct.
are a full-fledged TV station.
Well, congratulations to you all on that milestone. Even as we are discussing the budget, this is an example of how growth can happen for entrepreneurs within this space. Perhaps not the traditional type of entrepreneurs that we know of, because traditionally most Tobagonians tend to operate within the distribution sector. You know, we buy some goods and we sell it back at a markup price and we make a profit. But the kind of entrepreneurship you all are doing is involved in media and the creative arts, what we call the orange economy.
Yes. And
even in the budget yesterday, I spent some time speaking about how the orange economy, how that can benefit the economy as a whole. This station should be an example for parents, especially who have young people who are interested in the creative industries, so that you know that it's not just about just dancing for fun or singing for fun or writing stories for fun and poetry for fun or liking the habit of being behind the television screen for fun, but that these are actual viable avenues through which successful businesses and employment and monies can be earned. And so congratulations to Tobago Updates, and congratulations for proving my point that we ought to invest some more in the orange economy so that we could get not 100 more television stations, but we could get a lot more creatives and a lot more innovation happening within the sector.
certainly. Now, heading straight into the budget, you presented a total of $4.54 billion, which you said is would be equal to an estimation of 6.9% of what you really think the national budget would look like. But Minority Leader Kelvin Morris stated that this is an unrealistic request, and based on all the things that have happened within this space, and his view that this administration, your administration, has not been prudent in handling the funds, the public funds. They don't think that they think that that's too much.
Well, let me address it on two fronts. Number one, the accusation that we have not been prudent in managing the funds, that's untrue. In fact, I laugh at the hypocrisy of the statement, because when I look at the handful of supporters yesterday, and it was a handful, I'm seeing among the handful people who were implicated in the audit report for being corrupt. And it says to me that they have aligned themselves fully behind those who attempted to steal from Tobago's purse, in fact, who have stolen from Tobago's purse, and they are backing them and supporting them fully. So I won't be lectured on prudence and management of an economy by Mr. Morris or the PNM for that matter. Secondly, it's also hypocrisy because they have always asked for the percentage ratio of what I'm asking for as well. As a matter of fact, they go back and look at all the previous budgets. Those by Mr. Jack, you don't have to go very far, and you will see that the figure for which they asked for in the past have either been around what I've asked for or more, never less than what I have asked for over the two budgets I have done. So that's hypocrisy. The third thing is there are so many developmental challenges that Tobago has that as an island we have been arguing, including the minority, arguing that we need fixes for, that we need more of. In fact, the minority has been saying, well, people suffering, people struggling, people need more. But people cannot get more if there isn't capital to give more. And what I've asked for is $6.90 out of every $100 spent in the country. Under $10. Under $10 I've asked for just for Tobago's development. And I don't think that's an unreasonable ask. And notwithstanding our resident population size, we have to look at where we are coming from in terms of our lack of development to where we need to go. And how do we make those fixes? And let's break it down into very real terms. When we look, for example, at gratuities, the matter of gratuities, and we have a lot of teachers, for example, who are waiting gratuities and increments. What was allocated in last fiscal coming out of the appropriation bill in the parliament was somewhere in the region of around $7 million. When we calculate the figures, you're talking about us spending about $25 million, and is not even sufficient to cover all that is needed. There's still tons of teachers demanding gratuities and increments, but those cannot be paid if there isn't more money. And one of the things that the minority is very disingenuous about is that a lot of these challenges are their own causing. And I'll give in the same gratuity matter. Why are we paying backlog on gratuities that exceed 5-7 years? Why? Because every single year, the Parliament appropriates to Tobago sufficient funds to pay gratuities and increments for that fiscal year. You know what's the problem? Is that the monies have been received in the previous fiscal years, and instead of using the money responsibly and paying people their gratuities and increments in those years, they refuse to pay them. So then now there's a huge backlog, and the Parliament is not going to take care of the backlog. And so we are trying to take care of the backlog without an allocation to take care of the backlog. That's their fault. When you look at Bad Rock in Belgarden, how many years Bad Rock has been that way? How many years have we been having fallen rocks? And have we been having a depreciating public road infrastructure? For many years, nothing, the bridge and backlet, all of these things, many years, no work. And so we are now trying to correct ages of bad work or lack of work. And if you listen to the town hall meetings and you listen to the people that come out at every town hall meetings, people are talking about issues that predates us coming into office. and not just predated, but we're talking donkey years old issues. And I'll give you another one. I received a stern letter of warning from a farmer because Tractor Pool collected in excess of $8,000 from him, but has done no work for the gentleman. When I look at the thing, the gentleman first started paying Tractor Pool somewhere in the early 2000s. Early 2000s, I was still in high school. And then today, I am expected to find a solution for farmers like him and so many others who have paid 6 years ago, 7 years ago for Tractor Pool services and still can't get it, and we are struggling to get the backlog covered to the point where we are considering maybe we should take no new applications in Tractor Pool and only deal with people who have paid in the past. Maybe we should give people back their money and start the system afresh. That's what we're discussing now. And so if we are to fix these donkey years old issues that Tobagonians have been complaining about, then $6.90 out of every $100 spent in the country might actually be a very small ask to fix those issues. When you even look at the fact that we are staring a court case for $80 million for the Lansome Link Road.
And that's from 2002.
2002,
yeah.
Right? 2002, I in sixth form. The road built, the road mash up, right? We have to fix the road, and I don't know, but it will appear as if we didn't pay for the road, and we'll see where the court case goes. We have to look at the issue. The point is, if we have to fix these donkey years old issues, and at the same time progress Tobago and give Tobago some innovative developmental works, then it will need $6.90 out of every $100, and it might actually be more than that.
Now, I also want to address a matter that you brought up in the budget, and that has to do with our mid-year budget review. When we've had a couple since, and we have not gotten, or according to you, we have not gotten an equal share or the dispute resolution committee ruling share of the mid-year budget review. And I want you to spend some time going into that matter.
Well, what happens is simply this. Every year, in and around June, the Minister of Finance will come in the mid-year and do a review. What the review does is that the minister at that point will have a macro look at the economy, how ministries and how the THA, how we are doing, and the minister will request from ministries and also from the THA, request for either additional funding. In some rare instances, the minister might decide, we're not making enough money, oil and gas revenues drop significantly, and perhaps I'm not going to give any more money. And he may even decide at that juncture to make cuts against ministries. But that doesn't happen. The minister almost always comes and increases the budget and say, okay, we need X more money because based on what we're seeing now, based on the revenues collected, we could afford to give some more money, and he'll make more money is available. The DRC report, which is, 20-something years old this year, 22 years old this year, is quite simple. It says that Tobago must get between 4.03% and 6.9% of the budget. That was agreed on. The report was accepted by the Parliament. So the Parliament, in essence, decided in 2001 that Tobago will get every year between 4.03% and 6.9% of the budgetary allocations for that year. When the midterm review happens and the minister increases the budget, it is expected the minister will also increase the THA's budget, the Tobago budget, proportioned according to the DRC's report, 4.03% to 6.9%. This year, the minister provided only 100 million. In the requests I made in the midterm, for example, I included requests for additional funding for agriculture and education, two primary areas.
What percentage is that of the total allocation for the mid-year?
I don't have the exact percentage in my head, but I know that if we were to get 4.03%, it should be about 153 million as opposed to 100 million, right? And therefore, by not giving us that extra 53 million, we have fallen short of the 4.03% that we will we were supposed to be allocated. And that has happened over and over and over again. The only reason it's coming up now is because somebody different is here. If they were here, they will just accept it, zip their lips, as the former political leader said, zip their lips and go their way merrily and say, we are contented with what we were given. And so all of those things speak to the funding challenges that we do have. And that's why some of the development works take longer than we would like. That's why we have to utilize modalities such as the design, build, finance modality to try to get some projects, development projects off the ground.
Now, you also said that when you brought up the matter with the Minister of Finance, he stated that, he has every right to not give Tobago money at all or to give Tobago less.
Well, he tried to quote the Exchequer and Audit Act, and he tried to say the Exchequer and Audit Act is part of the Constitution, which is not true, as he framed it in his letter. And he essentially said, well, as Minister of Finance, I can decide to just cut the budget of the THA along with any ministry, any local government. And I'm contending that that is not legally so. It has to be extreme circumstances under which that becomes acceptable. Extreme circumstances, for example, there might be a massive earthquake that destroyed parts of the country, and so there has to be a massive reprioritization exercise. Then it's understandable. But even then, you will look at what is the country's revenues at that time. And if you're cutting back on Tobago, not giving Tobago its full amounts, then you also can't go to the Parliament at a mid-year and increase the budget. So if you're cutting back, you can't cut back from Tobago and at the same time increase the allocations to other ministries, because then your argument won't hold water either. So that's something that we're contending with. It's something that they know that I disagree with. And I could tell you that as an assembly, there are some actions that I won't mention here that we will have to take to ensure we get what we deserve insofar as what was appropriated to Tobago.
All right, we're going to have to pause the conversation right there, Chief Secretary. But when we return, we'll continue going into the budget, as well as we will get to some other things that are within the public space, but I know many of you are eager to find out about. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong.
Fire service! Hello, fire service! Anybody in here? Fire service! Yeah, we're right here! We gotta get out! We're right here! Okay, take him! Let's go!
Thank you for saving me. You're my hero.
Together, as we face the challenges during the new normal, always remember that fire safety begins with you.
Are you flood ready? Recycle and properly dispose of large waste. Avoid sweeping yard clippings or trash into drains. Plant trees to avoid soil erosion. An initiative to help people prevent, prepare, recover. TATIL, where people are people.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
October will never be better with Tobago Carnival Fever. Okay, passage and come on over.
Yeah. Hey.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago. On Tobago Updates, viewers, we are being joined by the Honorable Chief Secretary Fali Augustin and the Secretary of Finance, Trade and the Economy. Now, before we went to the break, we started speaking a little bit about the mid-year budget review, and we know that recently that has raised some concerns, and I want the Chief Secretary to address that here. Now, you made an accusation a week and a half ago, basically, that said that out of that $100 million that was given in the mid-year budget review this year, a request was made of you to use $60 million to pay one contractor. And we heard from the Prime Minister, he refuted those claims and so on. So what is the truth of that matter?
Let me. That is an accusation, it's not an allegation.
Okay.
Let me go through with you the timeline of what happened. So, I was contacted by a senior government official that said, look, one of these contractors needs 60 million. They have to get 60 million. And I have, since winning the election, have been saying to the Minister of Finance that we have inherited quite a lot of debt. In fact, yesterday I indicated it's more than 700 million. Most of that to contractors. There's no way the THA can just pay all of that at one time. Certainly everybody wouldn't get their money. And certainly what we have is not enough to give everybody some either. And so when that request came, I made it clear, I said, but even if we are to service that claim, the money is not there. You're asking me to take from the development funding. We had quite a lot of rainfall. We have to do a lot of fixes in terms of what's happening along public roads, people begging for retaining walls and so on. We just have to prioritize our spend. And so if we are to begin to service any of those claims by those contractors, pursuant to the audit report that I'm doing, then you have to send the money from Trinidad. In fact, you know what my initial proposal to that senior official was? Give us all the money you owe us, and then we could start to make payments available. Instead, the response was, well, that's a no-go. So we will send $100 million, and of the $100 million, ensure they have $60 million. The $100 million came. So the $100 million that was...
and when did the $100 million come?
That came before the midterm review. So the midterm review was essentially just rubber stamping what we already received.
Mm-hmm.
And from the $100 million, we looked at the audit report. We looked at what it proposed we should pay. And I released from the Ministry of... the Division of Finance, $50 million to the Division of Infrastructure to begin those payments and to make those payments in accordance with what is recommended by the audit report. There is still another phase of the audit report that we are awaiting a final report on. When those final reports come, we will have to pay something to those contractors impacted there So I wasn't even trying to see if I could use out all of the 100 million, because I know when the audit report is completed, on the next phase, we have a series of contractors there who are awaiting payments subject to the recommendations of that audit report. And so we made some payments. In most instances, we made about 10% payments on the claims that were made. Bear in mind that a lot of the claims were inflated, overvalued. As a matter of fact, we had instances where some of the same contractors were paid for works not done. So that has to now be leveled off against what we do owe. So it is quite a complex bit of accounting that has to be done to ensure that we are not overpaying these contractors. The one contractor that I've spoken about publicly was paid a little over $25 million, which is more than any of the others. And might I say, even those so-called Trini contractors who engage in design, build, finance projects with the THA, they have not been receiving payments as yet, because remember, design, build, finance means you do your work up front and then we take a long time to pay you on the back end. So the truth is, our largest check to date was to a contractor that attempted to extort monies from the THA through me.
And these were works that were done under the previous administration?
Under the previous administration, not by us. And it also includes trying to settle for some incomplete works, incomplete projects. And I'll give you another example. This contractor in question was doing some work for us down at Cove and Chauvin for the relocation of the people affected by the airport. Those works are incomplete as we speak. And when we came into office, we paid up all that was owing on those bills, because it was a situation where they were doing the work in phases and we pay in phases. We paid up all that was owing in those instances. We can't find on record a copy of the contract. We can't find on record any file containing the tender process, the award process, none of that. But in good faith, we paid it up, saying, well, completely work, because the people from the airport are crying out because the road is incomplete. Wassain finished running the pipe. Tech demanding that they pay for transformers and so on, because it's just not set up properly so that people can be relocated effortlessly into either Chauvin or Cove. And still, although we paid up what was owing, the works were incomplete. And to the point where I had to say to the Secretary of Infrastructure, I said, listen, I said, stop with this stupidness now. Look how long until I just move on and do the project, forget the contractor, get somebody and complete the work. Because
is it that the contractor is refusing to complete those works?
Well, they just have not returned to the works, and they have demobilized from on the site.
And is this a Tobago contractor?
Of course, a Tobago contractor. And the point I'm making is this, that there are so many nuances involved in the conversation concerning the contractors, a lot of which I don't think is appropriate to say no. But it is why I'm adamant that the THA must take necessary legal steps against people who have wronged the people of Tobago. I'm very adamant about that. I'm confident in the audit report. I'm confident in what was discovered. I can tell you that the contractors who identified by the first phase of the audit that is finalized, that they were all written by legal. And we didn't just complete it, but we wrote them. We identified all the wrongs that were identified by the auditors that they did, and we asked them for a response. To date, only one has responded, and the response leaves much to be desired. And so we have to take all the necessary steps in recovering and safeguarding the purse. And you also have to appreciate that what some people want is that we come into office, forget all the development works, and simply just pay them their monies. The truth is, even if PNM had won this election, if they have the budgetary allocations we have, they will still be unable to pay 100%, because you're talking about one series of work, $300 and something million just in the lead up to an election. And that 300 and something million is equivalent to our entire development budget for a year. So even if PNM had won the election, they will still be unable to pay. You will also bear in mind that I came to you in January last year, and I pointed out that when we came in, what we met in terms of unspent balances there, what we met in terms of a contingency fund, and that those were depleted as well. And what had to happen during the fiscal year is that we had to cut back on spending, force ourselves to cut back on spending so that we can have sufficient to pay for CPEP and URP. I want workers in CPEP and URP to appreciate that what is given by the central government to pay CPEP and URP is always woefully inadequate. Not now, even during the previous regime.
So
right?
Perhaps for the last 20 years, it's been that way.
Right, it has been that way. So you will get 11 million when the requirement is 50-something million, and so we have to get the extra monies to pay them. Remember at one time, in one election, I think it was 2013, there was a whole argument about whether we should take from the contingency fund to pay CPP and URP worker, or whether contingency funding should remain if we have like a natural disaster to treat with that. And the then Chief Secretary, Mr. London, made a point. If paying workers isn't a contingency, I don't know what is. And many people in Tobago agree with him that, you know, we just have to pay these workers. And so the situation remains the same. No, that has not changed. That has not changed. But I want to introduce into the conversation another aspect that people have to bear in mind. When you listen to the budget debate, you listen to what I presented yesterday, and you will listen to the secretaries when they come on Thursday, you will realize that the majority of the achievements fall under the scope of social welfare. And I expect the economists to give us a lot of licks for that, because they will argue, classical economists will argue that these social welfare programs are not sustainable. They're not sustainable because, remember, you're just giving out. You're not making anything. It's not necessarily to productive use. But coming out of COVID, the social welfare needs are great. They are significant. The demands for what we call food card has increased. You noticed yesterday I mentioned that we even increased the value of food cards for larger families. Before, the THA food card, which is a temporary card, was only $500. Now, if you have a family of 5 or more, you could get $1,000. It was increased for larger families. We increased the salaries of CPEP and URP because coming out of COVID, we also recognize a lot of these workers who were working for bare minimum wage and working for less than sufficient, that many of them lost their second jobs. Gone are the days when you perhaps could have done a CPEP work in the morning and then you get like end by a hotel somewhere or a restaurant somewhere, because most of the hotels and restaurants cannot take on the volume of staff they had before. I know some hotel workers who get to work 1 day a week, 2 days a week. You can't mind a family on that. And so we have to take the hard decision and say, look, we have to give these people living wages. The cataract surgeries that we did, we had to look at the vacancies on the daily rated and start taking on people. All of these are really not sustainable. But coming out of COVID, we had to focus on the social welfare projects more than even the big fancy projects that we had. Because when we do the big fancy projects, people say, but you're doing this nice new road, but I still don't have sufficient groceries. So the need is there. And so to satisfy that need, we have no choice but to do that. And when we look at our conversations with the Caribbean Development Bank, one of the things they said to us, look, your social welfare programs are not sustainable enough. But if you don't have them coming out of COVID, you will have chaos within your economy. And so even I had to go against my firm belief about trimming back on some of these social welfare programs because the need is just overwhelming. And then on top of that, last year we had extreme weather patterns in terms of rainfall. We are still paying rent for families. I have a family from Castara that was dislocated, and we haven't been able to complete the fixes around the house as yet. So we're still paying the rent for them, so that until we can fix around the house, so that they can move back into their homes. We have a family out in Cradley that we're looking to move permanently. There's a family up at Bad Rock on the hill there now that we are trying to move post haste. To move, we have to move the family into a government quarters, try to provide piece of land in Lamy Road for the family, so we build some place for them, because where they live, we will more than likely have to create pathways for road so that we could take care of the Bad Rock Road on the other side. All of these things are happening in this space at the same time.
All right. Well, Chief Secretary, now we've had this accusation coming out that business within Tobago has been difficult since your administration took office. The Chamber was looking forward for a plan in terms of paying some of the outstanding contractors because many of them are facing challenges with the banks and so on. And a lot of small businesses are complaining that the economy is not great for them.
Well, the economy for Tobago has not been great for a while. Number one, Tobago's economy shut down to a greater degree than most other Caribbean territories, perhaps save and except for Trinidad. Number two, the Tobago economy reopened much later than every other economy in the Caribbean. We really opened fully in April last year, Easter last year. What the businesses are feeling is what we are seeing, and I spoke about it in the budget. In fact, let me repeat what the statistics are. And when I came into office, I commissioned this study because I wanted to see what was the impact of COVID on our businesses. Approximately 91% of businesses in Tobago suffered a reduction in their revenue. That is a given. Businesses closed, significant reduction in their revenue. And most of the businesses operated outside of the realm of what we call emergency services or such highly public important services that they had to open, right? So most of them had to close. 63% experienced cash flow shortages, which means 63% of our businesses were unable to have enough cash flow to manage the operations coming out of COVID. And that is true because remember, when COVID started, most businesses felt this might be a 2-week thing, a 3-week thing. So I'll keep paying my staff. I'll go out and buy goods and stock up on goods still. I'll keep the lights on because this will pass soon. Nobody thought this will go for 2 years or more. And if people felt that way, then they would have conserved all the liquidity they had at the time so that they will be able to jump back into the business post-COVID. That did not happen. So 63% experienced cash flow issues. 40% experienced difficult meeting payroll expenses. So 40% of our businesses have challenges paying their staff and paying their staff on time. 37% experience difficulties in honoring their obligations to financial institutions. 37%. Right? Now remember, and it's not just contractors, I'm talking about businesses generally. You have to tell me, the public have to tell me, whether they think I should forget holding contractors to account, forget what some might be trying to steal from the public purse, just pay them what they demand and forget that. Or should I do the responsible, the morally right thing and pay them only what they deserve only for the work that they have done, at the quality of work that they have done, and conserve the rest of monies to do other things. So it's not just contractors in the space, all of whom were eating off the fat of the land when things were good. Were they getting overvalued contracts? I see situations where we have invoices certified by engineering works. Who was protesting yesterday? Certified. Invoice certified and certificate of completion due months after. So in other words, you certifying the works were completed well, long after you certify the invoice to payment and pay the contractor. Instances where contractors get their payments, full payments in advance of the work even starting. That's what we're talking about. So I don't want anybody to come and try to say, well, it's just the contractors. No, there is a challenge for businesses across the island.
But what about the knock-on effect?
37% have challenges meeting the obligations to financial institutions. 36% can't pay the rent. And 35% experience disruptions in raw materials. That's the hardcore data coming out of COVID. And so for the business community, what the TH has to do for them is more than just give them loans. Because if we give them a loan, they can't afford to pay us either. Because as it is, they're owing the banks. And so that was in the month that just went, I had a meeting with the Bankers Association, met with a small internal team led by Ms. Vernie Shields. They're exchanging the legal teams that's now working out how a revolving loan program from the THA can work. I'm saying I'm willing to give the business sector this money, and I'm willing to wait to get back the money from them because I know they have obligations to the other financial institutions. But the issue is more than just getting cash. And you have to also understand it's in the context where flights to the island have been significantly diminished. We moved from 24 to 12. And
we are still at 12.
And we're still at 12.
The last flight leaves at 8:35.
Right. More than a year later, still at 12. Those in the tourism sector, the last town hall, it was raised that people coming in through KLM, they're losing customers coming in through KLM and coming from international flights because they don't want to overnight at a hotel in Trinidad and then come to Tobago. So we're losing visitors in that regard. You're talking about the people who are accustomed coming to stay in the villas, the hotels from right in Trinidad. Many of them can't get flights to come. Still a problem more than a year after we reopened our economy. So we cannot see the challenges that the business community is facing in isolation of a larger problem. Right. And I mean, I have been very vocal about Caribbean Airlines and getting flights here. Very vocal about the need to increase the flights to the point where I say, look, I'm willing to pay the cost of keeping the Tobago airport open, right? Still, they didn't take me on. I got so far. I fixed up the VIP lounge in the airport there. So I said, no, if we into tourism and people bringing in Burna Boy and all kind of fancy artists and so on, you have to have a place that is suitable. Trinidad Piaco has nice VIP lounge that they can come through and so on, where dignitaries, diplomats can come through. Tobago didn't have any. I fixed up one in the airport because we are trying our best to create a situation where the economy gets ticking again. And when we look at what the data says, in terms of contribution, and it shows tourism is now our third largest contributing factor to our economy. Tourism used to be second. The only thing that used to be to tourism used to be the government sector, right? Now it is the government sector, and then followed by finance, insurance sector, and then tourism. The tourism sector is third largest, only 14% of our GDP. But finance, insurance, real estate, and the business sector is our second largest contributor. The government sector is the largest at 46%. And that should be a worrying sign for all of us. It is for me, because tourism is where we have a competitive advantage. Not that real estate and insurance isn't good. That's good. But remember, where real estate is concerned, we still have challenges in terms of foreigners being able to buy land. So
in other words, there's some leakages happening.
The inputs we have from real estate that's accounting for the second largest contributor is really Trinis coming up and buying properties. And they are part of the country called Trinidad and Tobago. And nothing can stop them from coming up here and buy land. The same way Tobagonians go to Trinidad and buy land, they can come up and buy land. So they contribute to real estate and insurance and the financial sector being the second largest output for GDP, in the second largest productive sector on the island. Tourism is a third. And you can't drive a service-driven economy without movement of people. And I'll say this final thing to those that's listening. Caribbean Airlines should not be looking to make the bulk of their profit from people just buying tickets. That's not the way you view transportation in an economy. If countries view transportation's contribution to an economy in that way, there will be no subway in New York. There will be no oyster system with a tube and a bus above ground in London. There will be no metro system anywhere in the world, because in most parts of the world, these systems don't make profit. But what they do is that they move people around so that the economy moves in a much larger way. Caribbean Airlines' contribution has to be, how do we move people in and out of the country and move people between the two islands in a way that allows for there to be greater spending in the economy. Remember, our resident population based on the last census is only about 65,000. The economies of scale remain small. And so if we can inflate our population by increasing the number of people coming to the island, it means more people at the supermarkets, more people in the restaurants and hotels, more people buying from the man selling fruits on the side of the road, more people coming and buy from you when you're pushing your car through the traffic selling water or selling juices, more people at the gas station, more people on the here for a weekend, more people will show up and say, I got to visit church today and I got to pay more, pay a little offering or something. Right. We have to look at the impact of transportation on the economy and the lack of it on the economy as well. And that also speaks to the fact that all the monies we're spending on marketing Tobago will come to naught if it is people just can't get here. The return on the dollar will not be there. If we spend the money marketing Tobago, Trinidad, say come up, bring a family here, don't go Barbados, come Tobago. But then they at Piaco on standby for 5 hours. That's a waste of the marketing money.
And additionally, of course, that is a concern that we Tobagonians have to deal with.
Because we use the service not for leisure, but for business
yes.
and for treating with critical services like medical services, legal services, town and country planning services, etc., etc.
Quite a whole lot. But viewers, Chief Secretary, you're going to have to take a quick break. But when we return, we'll continue with our discussions here on GMT. So viewers, don't go anywhere.
The energy fill the skies. I say, thanks for favor to wake up and hear my neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong.
Are you flood ready? Review and update insurance coverage. Install floodgates and barriers. Create a family flood plan. An initiative to help people prevent, prepare, recover. TATIL, where people are people.
Are you looking for a place for your loved ones? Heavenly Care welcomes you. Located at Northside Road opposite Massey Motors, we offer a variety of services. These include doctor visitations, social activities, geriatric care, and much more. Contact us at 277-9595 or visit us at Northside Road opposite Massey Motors. At Heavenly Care, compassion is at the heart of all care.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there.
updates.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago. On Tobago Updates, viewers, we are continuing our conversations with Honorable Chief Secretary Fali Augustine, as well as the Secretary of Finance, Trade and the Economy. Now, we've got to leave the budget conversations just for now, because we're going to have the budget debate happening on Thursday, where a lot of the things the Chief Secretary spoke about will be expanded on.
By the secretaries, yeah.
Yes, but we need to treat with some issues within the space, and there's a whole lot. I'm not sure if we can get through, but we're going to try. Now, the matter of the Chief Administrator. Are we still without a Chief Administrator at this point in time?
As of 9:08 a.m., we are still without a Chief Administrator.
What is the latest information on that?
The latest information I have is that a recommendation was received by the Public Service Commission, received sometime last week, Tuesday, but they had their meeting already, or agendaed their meeting already before the recommendation was received. That's what I last heard. And so we're just waiting on the Public Service Commission to complete their work on that regard.
Now, this issue has generated quite a lot of discussions from the Prime Minister and so on. And I mean, we had Siddika Williams, or the Assistant Secretary here, explaining some things. And as a result, the Prime Minister said that he would no longer have a conversation with you without a third party present.
Well, tell him I'll work with the crosses, Siddika, or when I'm coming to the meetings with him. So I'll have a third party.
All right. No, I mean, and
I should probably be the one saying that, because I went to the House last week, Thursday, and I felt it was critical to identify the timelines, to share by reading onto the records all the letters and the communications between the Prime Minister and myself. We showed that the Prime Minister was less than truthful about how this matter panned out. As a matter of fact, it was only when the DPA's office responded to my pre-action protocol letter that I discovered that they were preparing to make an appointment on the 17th of May. The Prime Minister and I only met on the 22nd of May. There's no way the Public Service Commission could be preparing to make an appointment when the law is clear that the Prime Minister consults the Chief Secretary, then the recommendation goes to the Public Service Commission, and then an appointment is made. That's the order in which it ought to happen. And I had to write 2 days before the expiration of Ms. John's tenure to say, look, nobody consulted with me. And I shared in the House last week, Thursday as well, that last year when Ms. John came, nobody consulted with me. Completely disrespected. And I didn't come to the media. I didn't go to the public. I didn't cuss anybody. I didn't get on bad despite having a right to do so. In fact, at the time, I thought maybe I should go to court and have the court reject the appointment and send Ms. John packing. And I said, you know what? Let me just write them and warn them and tell them, don't do it again. But we're back at this point again, and I have no other conclusion to make other than to say that had I not intervened by writing the Prime Minister, that they would have attempted to do the same thing, and that is highly disrespectful. And let's be very honest, if Mrs. Prasad Bisesa was Prime Minister and Orville London was Chief Secretary, and that happened, Tobago would be on fire. Miss John would have never been accepted last year. There would have been bacchanal, talk of disrespect. They would have blocked road. They would have protests. They would have go to court. All kind of thing would have happened, right? I was kind enough to accept the disrespect last year, and I pointed it out to them. And in this year again, there's a whole fight. There's no need for a whole fight.
And what about the allegation that...
The truth is, the appointment of a chief ad should not even result in such a large public discussion, because it cheapens the position. It creates challenges, PR challenges for a public servant that will now fill the position. And if you notice, when this matter first came up and was first asked about, we actually laid the blame at the feet of the Public Service Commission, because I was under the impression that the Prime Minister had already made the recommendation to the Public Service Commission pursuant to his consultation with me. And so they were the ones sticking, as the young people were saying, only to discover that he was the one sticking on the matter. But hopefully we will get someone into the position this week, and then we take it from there.
And then the allegation of yourself knowing beforehand that a certain candidate would have been suspended, specifically the permanent secretary at CAST.
Let's look at how public servants are disciplined. And that's why in the House, I exposed that this was part of a plot to try to install who they want to be chief administrator, so that they can destroy the audit report and so that they can remove the responsibility from those who stole from the THA and who misappropriated THA funds. When a public servant must be disciplined, the political directorate has nothing to do with that. In the Tobago space, the chief administrator is the one who takes the lead. Now, I as chief secretary, if I have an issue with a public servant, I can take it upon myself and I can write directly to the chairman of the Public Service Commission. I have not done any such thing. When the audit report came across my desk, the final version of the first one where we look at 80-something roads done by 3 contractors, and I read it, I said, but this thing implicating some public servants. I made a confidential file that I made available to the then chief administrator, and I said to the then chief administrator, here is the file, read it, and you take whatever actions are necessary against the public officers that are guilty. The chief administrator then, she, as far as I'm advised, made the allegations and sent them to the Public Service Commission, who then read through the allegations, found that they were serious enough and warranted a suspension. Farley Chavez Augustine has nothing to do with the suspension, nor does Farley Chavez Augustine orchestrate the suspension. As a matter of fact, I was only aware of the suspension the same time the public was aware of the suspension. Right? That's it. And when the DPA wrote, I think the DPA's letter, the DPA said that the suspension happened on the 24th of May. 24th of May is when the suspension happened. 24th of May. The Prime Minister and I met on the 22nd. Yeah. The Chief Ad's last day was on the 17th of May. Yeah. The DPA office is claiming that the former Chief Ad wrote them on the 17th of May. So her letter was dated the last day she worked. I can't verify that because I have not seen what the Chief Ad wrote to the Public Service Commission. But it was in her right and within her duty so to write to the Public Service Commission. The only person that should have, or only entity that should have informed the Prime Minister that somebody that he might have wanted to be Chief Ad had these things hanging over his head should be the Public Service Commission. Because this was a senior public official that operated out of the office of the Prime Minister. So it's the Public Service Commission that's supposed to inform him, not Farley Chavez Augustine. When the Prime Minister and I met, we did not discuss any name except one name, which was a recommendation I made. So the Prime Minister did not come and say, well, I like this person or I like that person. In fact, I was led to believe that the Prime Minister was comfortable with me making the recommendation because at the end of the day, I'm the one leading the space. The chief administrator becomes my chief advisor. And of what interest is the Prime Minister in picking the chief advisor for the chief secretary? Except if he wants to destroy the chief secretary. Of what interest is that to the Prime Minister? And so the Prime Minister rightfully gave me the impression that, look, I really want your recommendation. So if the Prime Minister had come and said, what do you think of this person or that person? Then I would have said, okay, well, this is the flaw in this person. This is why I'm not recommending this person. But no name came up. And I could tell you, in my meeting with the Prime Minister, I did not bad talk a soul. So I did not go in that meeting to say, I don't like this person because... No. I did not bad talk a soul. In the absence of getting a merit list from the Public Service Commission I recommended one person, and I share the values of that one person to the Tobago House of Assembly and to the people of Tobago. That was it. And in fact, we did not even spend the entire hour and a half that we met talking about a chief administrator either. We spoke about other issues pursuant to Section 31 of the THA Act, which says that we should meet and have regular conversations. And so I don't think it was my duty to tell he about what's hanging over somebody's head. Nor do I think it's my duty to give him a copy of the report. The audit report is the THA's business. That is our business to manage. And one of the reasons why I have not disclosed the report publicly, I shared what popped up in the preliminary report without calling the names of a single contractor. And from the final report, I gave general information that in no way prejudices the case. But it's because we have every intention to take all legal action necessary against those that are culpable. And so the final report will become the subject of many court cases. I am sure about that. And so responsibly, I'm not just handing it out to anyone, including the Prime Minister, who I am saying for the record has a close associate who is fingered in the report. So in my mind, what we are seeing, the Prime Minister posturing about a chief administrator, we see the people popping up in the protest yesterday. We see the demand to give them a copy of the report and so on. Just pay them and forget the report. All of that is a part of a larger plot that they have to try to squash the report, because the truth is, the bad things that happen, the Executive Council then must take responsibility for it. They were the ones who approved that particular minute. They were the ones who authorized the madness, and they are equally responsible. And so they are trying to have the entire thing squashed so that nobody will take responsibility for it. That is part of the scheme that they're on.
Now, Chief Secretary, you only got a few more minutes. I know you've got quite a lot to say, which is why we hope that you are going to be more often with us going forward.
No, let's be fair.
Yes.
I am certain I have made more TV appearances in my year and some months of being Chief Secretary than any other previous Chief Secretary in a single term, as a guarantee. Because Chief Secretaries don't normally make themselves available to just jump on TV every Monday morning. But I will share myself with all the other media outlets, because of course many of them want to talk about the budget as well. So I'll share myself.
Yes.
We're coming up to a break in the THA. We're coming up to also having the realignment post the budget. We are also expecting to have some things happening in the space in July, because I was notified that the president might be desirous of making a first official visit to Tobago in July. So all of those things are coming up in the space as well.
All right,
that will
Chief
take up some
Secretary,
time.
but before we go, one final question. This has to do with the controversial audio clip, well, I should say clips, and there's a threat of more to come. But one thing that people are raising some concerns about is that whole idea that was spoken in that clip about shaping the narrative, continuing the campaign, even when you gave the commitment upon taking up office as Chief Secretary that the campaigning is done and you're taking off your political clothes and putting on the Tobago hat.
Right. Yes, the formal campaigning is finished, but every single government has to shape a narrative. If we are not going to do that, then we should close down Information Division. There should not be a Ministry of Public Information in Trinidad. The government should not have any information programs anywhere in the country. Just have none of it at all. We should not do these interviews at all. What I'm doing here is also shaping the narrative. Not have any of that at all. So no responsible government anywhere in the world, whether you are within the Westminster system, as in the UK, or you are in the US system, where they have separation of powers and where you have a press secretary that comes out of the room every week, almost every other day, and have press conferences. All of those things are about shaping the narrative. And I was very clear in my public briefing. Two things. Number one, that the matter came up as a wider conversation. When you listen to the wider clip, you realize that it was a much wider conversation about how often secretaries ought to make themselves available to the media. Should we engage other people to fight the wars for us online? All of this was a broader strategic conversation that was had. Evidently, a year later, several of those things were not implemented. But as any responsible government will do, you discuss all options. And I assure you, if you should be a fly in the wall in a cabinet meeting, you realize that they discuss all options. All options are discussed. And that's why the laws tend to hold conversations at the executive level to be outside of the remit of a freedom of information, for example, because it's expected that you have these raw conversations without implications on you, because all the things you discuss, you will not necessarily implement. That's one. Number two, one of the things I pointed out in the public briefing is that, look, every elected member, if they want, can just hire people to be at their district offices who can manage both their social media responses and manage their offices, because you're entitled to that. Every elected member of the House, all 15 of us, are given, well, we are not given, but $20,000 is allocated per month to hire as many staff as you can hire. Within that 20,000, with no staff getting less than 2,500, you hire them, you set the job title, you set the scope of work for them. So if people want, they could have easily done that, you know. And I'll address one more thing that I see in the space. You see, I was kind of waiting and hoping that somebody would accuse me so I could sue them. Because I see some people trying to insinuate. And of course, my lawyers are looking at what the insinuate whether or not Miss Felix was hired to pay off for a court case that she brought against me under the former PDP. And I want to set the record very clear, be pellucidly clear in saying that Miss Felix was paid by me through my lawyers. I didn't even pay Miss Felix hand to hand. I didn't send money directly from me to Miss Felix. I paid Miss Felix through my lawyers, which in itself even nullify this intent to hire somebody like Miss Felix on the legal side to then find time to do PR and dirty workforce, because this is the same person who have me in court. In fact, I've been joking to the executive. I said, look, this person who was secretary hired, an assistant secretary hired as a personal staff member, took me to court under the PDP. She entered the party PDP, you know. She took me to court saying, you led the PDP campaign, PDP owe me, you pay me, right? And in the first instance, I paid some last year, and I paid some this year, all through lawyers. So she still had to get your money from me, not even through the government side as is being insinuated by some. But I was kind of waiting, hoping that they wouldn't insinuate, but that they would just say it so I could sue somebody, because I could do with their money. I could do with their money. And that just proves the point that even an assistant secretary hired somebody who took their chief secretary to court, and who the chief secretary had to pay through his lawyers. And that should tell you how we did not in any nepotistic kind of manner hire these people as our personal staff. For sure though, no secretary, assistant secretary should hire personal staff that wouldn't come with loyalty and trustworthiness. That only makes sense. I guess I might be the only stupid person in the bunch who kept the personal staff of a former secretary and then let it go their way, and just bring in my own people, and that's just my personality.
So just to make it clear that hire of Ms. Felix was not as a result of any kind of a pardon, any kind
No, and I can assure you, and in fact you should ask Ms. Felix. She should come and clear the air. She could ask her lawyer to come and clear the air. But she was paid through her lawyer from my lawyer. I didn't even go to her directly. I did everything through the lawyers.
All right. Now, unfortunately,
there's one more ththing
Okay.
that I thought you would have asked about that I must mention before I run off from here. Tell me why they get me, right? And I know you have a next program coming up, and all the big and all on TV now, so they just can't go extend the time anymore. All they have strict timelines and thing now.
It is what it is.
All the biggest on me now, but that's all right. That is all right. But one thing that I must mention, because I saw a very a hatchet job that was done in the press, where they listed as the contractors and said these were all sole selected and Trinidad businesses cashing in. And you know, when we looked at it, they mentioned contractors from the Division of Food Security. You know those contractors from Food Security that were paid? They were paid by ministries out of Trinidad, not the Tobago House of Assembly. The teacher did not engage them. Trinidad ministries engaged them and paid them, not Tobago at all. But they're in a report saying that Tobago THA hired them as sole select. So the people named who they put there as sole select were not sole selected. Many of them were not sole selected. They were in fact through open tenders, but a reporter is saying that they were sole selected. A lot of inaccuracies. And so I asked the secretaries to put out a press release tomorrow and put out the data to the public tomorrow to correct the errors. I asked that they write the editor of the Express to point out the errors in that report and what happened in that report. And let me tell you how nefarious the thing was. Education, because when they were late last year with doing their school repairs, sole selected the contractors, right? Yesterday in my report I said it was 30 million spent on school repairs. This figure was wrong. It's actually 43 million spent on school repairs, 96 packages, 57 contractors, right? Only one Trinidadian out of the 57 contractors, and there was a specialist from Trinidad. You know what? They didn't mention none of the data from education. And that reporter had asked education for their data as well. But of course, the data from education didn't suit the narrative, because the data from education showed that 57 contractors, 56 Tobagonians got sole selected. I want to look at it on the macro level. It will show that most of the sole selection happened to Tobago contractors, and it didn't suit the political narrative. So they leave out that data, and they misrepresent a lot of the data. Contractors that were hired by Trinidad ministries, paid by Trinidad ministries for works done in Tobago were being placed as if they're done by Tobago divisions or that sort of thing. And so we will correct the record this week. We will not just put out a press release, but we'll put out the data. We will write the editor, we'll have the record corrected. And that also speaks to part of the larger plot to destabilize, to create chaos, to make noises so that people will be distracted from all of the gains, all of the wins, and all of the deliveries. But we won't be distracted. We keep focus. Tobago, we keep focus. We keep fighting. We keep pushing. The next time I'm back, we're coming to talk about Tobago's autonomy, because that is the backbone of all that we do and say, and all that we discussed today, from the chief ad to the incursions from central government, the obstacles from statutory bodies, all speaks to the issue of autonomy in Tobago, that all Tobagonians must get behind and stand up on. But thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Tobago, for listening and being here. Pass. I hope all you know in the government work, sit down watching and then doing the people work. Eh? Accountants, especially accounts, the people who want the checks, especially the contractors, organize the people, your service providers, money, please and thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Chief Secretary. Always a pleasure to have you on with us, and we are grateful that you chose us, Tobago Updates Television, to
as the first one.
As the first one.
Well, at least you're trying to ship me away to Canada, so I had to come here first.
Thank you so much, Chief Secretary. Viewers, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for sticking with us. And of course, we are Tobago Updates Television. Don't forget, you can get us on 102 on Amplius. If you don't have Amplius, you need to get connected, where you can see this interview again. And yeah, continue for your support. And viewers, continue paying attention. We have brunch coming up in a little bit with Janelle, so you don't want to miss that, as well as all the other stuff that we have at Tobago Updates. We got a lot coming to you, so you want to make sure you stay tuned 24/7.
people strong.